What's up, YouTube? Today I'm going to be replacing these OEM camber plates with these camber plates from Ireland Engineering. I bought them from Way Motorworks, and they give you they claim 1.2 degrees of camber, but other people said you get 1.5, so we'll see. But stick around and see how that goes. You're going to want to spray some penetrating oil on all three of these bolts right here. I did it last night. You want to do it, whatever, an hour or two before at least, but the night before is the best. And then you want to take it off spray it on the end link bolt and on your steering knuckle bolt right here. I sprayed it on both sides, in the back too. Let's see if I can rotate this. I sprayed it right here, if I can find it right there. And then I sprayed a bunch down in here too, so the strut will come out of the knuckle a lot easier. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the brake line out of this little bracket right here. Just going to pop it out, and then I'm going to take this sensor. I'm going to unhook it slide that out too. Okay, next, this is a 16mm bolt that's holding the end link. It needs to be broke free. It has an Allen bolt in it to hold it, and there's also a little spot in the back where you can put a wrench on it. But I'm going to try with just the breaker bar with the 16mm socket on it and see if I can break it free without it spinning. I'm going to watch the back of it to make sure that it's not spinning while I turn it. So I was able to break free without spinning. Okay, now at this point, I'm just going to put I have a little snubby ratchet on here. I'm just going to hold the back of it with my hand so I can feel if it's turning or not. And I'm going to turn it as much as I can with this until it starts turning. Alright, it's already turning, so that was kind of pointless. Okay, so since it's turning, I'm going to go ahead and use a 5mm Allen wrench. I'm going to put it inside, and I'm just going to use this 16mm wrench to turn it. Well, this is a 5/8, but 16mm is what it's supposed to be. 5/8 works too. Just make sure you don't strip this bolt. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead and take it out the rest of the way by hand. Alright, then you can just remove the end link from the back. I'm going to go ahead and put this bolt, or this nut, right back on the end link so I don't lose it. Alright, I'm just going to let that sit there. Okay, now I'm going to take a 18mm box wrench. I'm going to put it on the back side of this bolt going to your steering knuckle just to hold it. It's a 18mm bolt on that side. And then I'm going to take an 18mm socket on a breaker bar, and I'm going to put it on this bolt right here. I'm going to break it loose. And that comes pretty easy. Now I'm going to grab a socket and take it off the rest of the way. I'm going to grab a socket or a ratchet, and still have this 18mm box end on the back. Put your ratchet on here. Let's go ahead and turn it on. It came off pretty easy. And loosen it by hand. Get it all the way off. And go ahead and take the bolt out. I have to finagle a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and tap the bolt a little bit. I'm going to hold the bottom of the whole steering knuckle. I'm going to tap it with the hammer. I'm going to try to pull it out from the back. Alright, so now I'm going to use the ratchet. I'm just going to turn it a little bit until it comes out. I think that'll be it. I'm just turning it by hand and pulling on it at the same time until it comes out. And there it is, it's out. Now if yours is really corroded like mine is, I'm going to go ahead and clean it up with some WD-40 before I put it back in. Okay, so I went ahead and cleaned the bolt, cleaned the bolt up with some WD-40. I'm going to put the nut back on it so I don't lose it. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. So at this point you want to go ahead and pop the shock out of the steering knuckle. Mine kind of just dropped just now. When I turned it, all I did was turn the knuckle toward, or the steering towards so it was straight, and when I did that it just dropped. So I'm just going to keep doing that, and I'm going to try to get it all the way out. And you just need to turn it until you can find a spot to where you can get this all the way out. Oh, it's so close. All right, there we go. Okay, so now you're going to want to take a 13mm ratchet and loosen these 3 bolts. You can take 2 of them out, but don't take all 3 out yet. Set that one aside. Alright, now the only thing that's holding that strut is this bolt. So I gotta get under there and hold the strut with one hand, which I'm gonna do right now. I'm reaching under the car with one hand and I'm picking up on the strut to hold it so I can loosen this. And then I'm just gonna let the strut come out, let it fall. It came down about 4 inches, now I can let go of it. Alright, now I'm just gonna work this strut out from under the car. I'm gonna move the end link out of the way. And I'm gonna come over top of this brake line if I can. Alright, to gain more clearance, I rotated the top hat and I lined those 3 bolts that I just took out up in the holes again. They're not nutted or threaded or anything, just so I can get enough room to get over this brake line. Then it comes right over the brake line. Now I can pull it right out. Okay, with this out, I'm going to go ahead and take a flathead screwdriver. I'm going to work it underneath here and pop this off so I can get to that bolt. Okay, so now I'm going to take these McPherson strut style spring compressors. I'm going to put one on each side of this spring so I can compress the spring and take this top hat off. Okay, with those attached to the spring, I'm going to go ahead and take a socket and I'm going to tighten these until it compresses the spring enough for me to take this top hat off. I'm going to tighten both sides as evenly as I can. I'm just guessing at it. I'm not going to make you watch me do that whole thing. Okay, with those compressed, I'm going to go ahead and remove this bolt right here. Alright, I'm going to try to break this loose with the breaker bar. I might have to set it on the ground. I might not be able to do it like this. Yeah, I got to set it on the ground and stand on it. Alright, so I just set it on the ground and I just stood on it while I broke it loose. Now it's coming loose. I'm going to switch to a regular wrench. Or regular ratchet, not a regular wrench. Of course I'm tightening. Alright, now I'm loosening it with the regular ratchet. That will make some progress. Before the bolt comes all the way off, I just want to make sure that I don't still have spring compression on here, because when I take this bolt off, I don't want this to go flying, which I don't think it's going to. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep loosening it. Took the bolt out. Let's go ahead and slide that off the top. Then grab the next one and put it on. Alright. Take this old, whatever that is, thin little washer off. Came with the OEM one. Your new one already has that on the bottom. So go ahead and place that in on top. And thread on the new bolt. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this with this ratchet. I'm not going to tighten it all the way, I'm just going to get it pretty snug so I know it's not going to pop off. Enough. Once you have that, that bolt tightened kind of snug, you don't want to torque it down. Well, you probably can, but I don't torque it down until I get it in the car, just so I have more leverage. But once you get that on, go ahead and take these spring compressors off, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, before you put these in the car, make sure you take these bolts off. I did the other side, I forgot to take those off, and I had to do it twice. And when you're putting this back in, there's no way for you to put it back in wrong. It'll only go in one way. So just go ahead and set it in there somewhere. And then you're going to want to go from the top. Alright, with one of the bolts in one hand, reach underneath in the wheel well and grab the strut and pick up on it and line it up with these holes. And just put one bolt in. Like I said, it'll only go in one way. And there you go. I'm going to go ahead and get these other two just barely started. I'm not going to put them on yet. Alright, now you got to try to get this strut back over this brake line. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Make sure it goes easily. Okay, so if you push the steering knuckle far that way as you can with it relatively straight, you can get enough room to where it slides underneath. And then from there, you need to try to get the strut inside this part of the steering knuckle. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm turning the tire towards the driver's side if you're in an American car, as far as you can. And I'm going to pull it forward so I get more room. I'm just going to pull the strut. And it slides in like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and turn the tire straight. Then I'm going to try to work it into the knuckle. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to turn this back to facing the driver's side again, so I get some room. I'm going to tilt it this way so it leans forward, and then I'm going to set this inside of it like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and start turning it back. Try to get it to slide in. Before I get too far ahead of myself, I'm going to go ahead and coat everything with this PB Blast. Trying to get inside the knuckle. Do it from the bottom. Alright. That coated, I'm going to go ahead, let me get a better shot of this real quick. Okay, on the back side, you're trying to get this to clear this when you turn it straight, and it wants to hit. So you got to push it towards the back of the car as you're turning it and try to get it to clear. I'm hoping with all this PB Blast on here it'll slide in easier. The other side went in pretty easy once I got it to line up. There we go. Alright, now it's lined up, it's in place, but it's not all the way down. The way I'm going to get it to go down is with a jack. I'm going to actually jack this up until it goes in. Alright, so I got this jack on my lower control arm. Don't jack from the rotor, obviously, but you still want that to be able to spin. And you're just going to jack it up. Make sure there's a tab in the back that's going to line up with the slot. And you got to make sure that you have this rotated so that it's lined up, which I feel like it is. Yep, and just jack it up until it goes in. There you go. Now with that in, you want to take the bolt that you took out of the back. Make sure you put it back in the same way. You're coming from the back of the car towards the front. And if it doesn't just slide right in like that, you're not lined up. Then go ahead and hand tighten the other side, the bolt, or the nut to the bolt. Alright. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this brake line, I'm going to put this rubber part right back in where I took it out. I'm going to take this sensor, I'm going to put it right back in where I took that out. And I'm going to line this back up wherever it came from. Figure that out right now. Alright, I didn't see this one was taken off, but this brake wear sensor that's on this side of the car, I'm going to go ahead and connect it to this line that I just connected right here. And hopefully that's where it goes. I don't really trust that, so I'm probably going to get a zip tie on it, but that looks like where it goes. Alright, mine don't clip on very good, so I'm just going to put some zip ties on because I trust the zip ties. I don't want to have my brake sensor get caught on something. I'm just going to put it on kind of loose. That one is probably good enough. Alright, I'll clip that later. Alright, I went ahead and clipped that off. Alright, so now I'm going to attach this end link and loosen that bolt. There's a hole right there. Just go ahead and line it up and slide it through. And then just hand tighten the end link. Alright. Alright, now the end link, you got to torque it down to 41 pounds, but in order to get a socket on there without it spinning, first you got to use your 5mm Allen bolt, or Allen key, and put it in the end and tighten it down. Tighten down the nut as tight as you can with the open end wrench, so it'll stop spinning. Alright, I got that pretty tight. Now with my torque wrench set at 41 pounds, I'm going to go ahead and hook that up. And that's tight. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten the strut tower to the, let me put that facing the right way. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and tighten the strut to the steering knuckle with the 18mm ratchet. Not going to get it all the way tight. Obviously I can't with this little wrench. Alright. Now I'm going to grab my torque wrench. Alright, got my torque wrench set at 74 foot-pounds. That's what the Bentley manual says. Now I'm just going to set my wrench on here. Well, first I'm going to get it a little bit tighter. And I'm going to let go of this wrench just so I can look at it and make sure the bolt's not turning. And I'm going to torque it down with this torque wrench. And it is turning, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten it a little bit more. Eventually it'll stop turning, at least the other side did. And then I'll be able to torque it down with both hands. Or it won't, and I'll just torque it down with one hand, but either way. I'm just going to torque it down with one hand, I guess. There we go. That's at 74 foot-pounds. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and use these stock bolts. I'm just going to tighten them down. Put them tightened by hand. Jeez. I'm just going to tighten them down kind of snug with the ratchet. Since you're going for more camber, when you're adding these camber plates, you want to push these bolts all the way forward before you tighten them down. So that's where I'm tightening mine at. Not all the way forward, but all the way towards the inside of the car. Inside the engine bay. Okay, the Bentley manual says to tighten these down to 25 pounds. But they're talking about with these bolts on the stock, or these nuts on the stock bolts. I don't know what they're supposed to be on these bolts. And they don't come with any directions or anything. And also they come with these other bolts. So what I do, or what I'm doing, is I'm just tightening them down tight, but I'm not stripping them. I'm getting them as tight as I think I can get them without stripping them. And then I'm putting the other bolts, or the other nuts, I mean, and I'm threading them on top to lock it on. That way they don't come loose. I'm going to do that. I did that on the other side, as you can see. I don't see any harm in doing it that way. I'm not recommending it. You either do or don't do it that way. That's just how I'm doing it. And I think it's, for me, I feel like it's the best way to do it. Tighten this last one. Okay, those are all tight. Now I'm going to torque down this bolt right here, and I'll be done. Alright, you're going to go ahead and get a 21mm socket and torque this down to 47 foot-pounds. There we go. All right, now take this piece that you pried off the top and just put it back in, press it in so that you don't get any dust in your bearings or water or anything. And it fits in there snug just like OEM. Alright, now all you gotta do is put your rims on. Make sure you put your lug bolts, tighten them down to 103 foot-pounds, and go test drive your car. Don't forget to get it aligned. That's the final step, but I can't show you that obviously. So if you like this video, like and subscribe. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. You know, tell your friends about it, and I'll see you on the next one.